Indian media report that talks are wrapping up for a Philippine acquisition of India's Akash short-range missile. If the $200 million US deal goes ahead, it would be Delhi's second major missile sale to Manila after the BrahMos in 2022. Meanwhile, a mysterious Chinese submarine is being developed at a shipyard in Guangzhou. How would China use the new weapon, and how do these developments affect the balance of power in the region? Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Kavat. Joining us today are Tony Hu, former US Department of Defense Senior Director for China, Taiwan, Mongolia, and Kuo Yu-jen, National Yat-sen University Institute of China and Asia Pacific Studies Professor and Director. A very warm welcome to both of you on the show today.
Thank you.
The Philippines is looking to buy more military hardware amid increasing tension with China as part of its $35 billion modernization program called Horizons. In 2022, the Philippines clinched a $375 million BrahMos anti-ship missile deal with India, and it says more BrahMos missiles systems are expected in 2025. As part of the Philippines' aims to counter China's military assertiveness, Manila is also eyeing India's Akash surface-to-air missile system with a range of 25 kilometers designed to intercept aerial threats. An Akash battery can track up to 64 targets and engage up to 12 of them. Tony, let me come to you first. So we're showing right now on screen a map of the Philippines with a 300-kilometer or 162 nautical mile missile range of the BrahMos all the way around the Philippines. Why is the Philippines introducing this short-range Akash missile and also more BrahMos missiles?
Yes, actually, Philippines is doing something that Taiwan is doing because they can't afford to match ship-to-ship, airplane-to-airplane with China, so they're going asymmetric. So BrahMos is a tremendous missile. It flies at 3 times speed of sound, and they are sea-skimming. They only fly at about 10 meters. They can actually fly as slow as 3 meters off the water. So it's a very hard missile to defend against. And so this put China at risk as they try to force Philippines and showing their military capabilities to intimidate Philippines. But now Filipinos have their own way of pushing back against that type of intimidation. Of course, Akash is also perfect because China is expected to use many of the airplanes to threaten Philippines.
In terms of the target area that we showed for the BrahMos, which is what we said is 300 kilometers, 162 nautical miles. So, Professor Kuo, that almost covers the Philippines' EEZ. We can see from the map that Scarborough Shoal, Second Thomas Shoal, Mischief Reef fall within this range.
Yes.
What's the significance of that?
As we all know, China's strategic concept against the U.S. what we call A2AD, aerial denial and anti-access and aerial denial. And as Tony just mentioned, including the island chain of Japan, all the way from Okinawa to southwestern island of Japan, Taiwan, and of course the Filipino island chain. All these countries have been doing asymmetric warfare. We can also call it anti-A2AD. We want to form a very strong hold for the first island chain, anti-air and anti-ship, not allowing Chinese aircraft or vessels that easily penetrate the first island chain. So I believe what the Filipino government been doing for the past couple of years, as also Tony mentioned, is to fulfill this kind of strategic concept.
Right.
And for right now, the Philippines eagerly need, including modern jet fighters, which the U.S. government been promised to sell F-16.
The Viper jet.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also, again, the submarine from India,
Yeah.
and also mid-range missile as well. So they prioritize all these 3 items as to fulfill this kind of strategic concept.
And Tony, do you sense there is a sense of urgency on the Philippine side for these acquisitions? You know, has it got anything to do with the hotspots of Scarborough Shoal, Mischief Reef, Mischief Reef being a fully militarized Chinese island, Second Thomas Shoal, Sabina Shoal?
Yes, I think Philippines finally realized the deficiencies in their defense design in resisting Chinese. So they are a bit of in a hurry of building up those self-defense capabilities. So it's a positive change, that the fact that they're devoting resources toward it. So
is it a reflection of the escalating threat, though, Tony?
It is absolutely a reflection of that threat, and the Filipino people supports this because they also see the threat that the Chinese ships that's chasing away the Filipino fishermen in their own EEZ. So I think there is, within the Filipino population, there is a very widespread feeling of being bullied by China, and that the Philippines needs to stand up on its own.
Right. And Professor Kuo, let's talk about submarines. We know as part of Phase 3 of Horizons, the Philippines also wants to acquire submarines. Now, Romeo Brawner, who's the Chief of Staff of the Philippine Army, he said that 2 subs would be a dream. And I quote, "We're an archipelago, so we have to have this kind of capability because it's really difficult to defend the entire archipelago without this." So what kind of mission do you think the sub is actually targeted to, or is it more deterrence?
The most threat that subs could pose is actually stealth. Not allowing the enemy to know your location, your capability, and your plan. And so that's the major reason I believe the Filipino government needs submarine so much. But the problem is, again, money and domestic politics.
Right.
It requires a lot of money, not only purchasing, but also to maintain, and especially to maintain the subs to be capable, ready to fight at any time.
Right.
And second of all, these June 12th, the Philippines is going to have congressional election. And the current situation is not looking very well for Marcos Jr.'s government. So, the Congress might, stop the government to have special budget for the 2 submarine procurement.
Sounds also similar to Taiwan.
Yes,
right.
Tony, where is Manila likely to be looking then for these subs? I mean, I understand that France, South Korea, Spain, Italy have tendered. For example, could the Philippines at some point purchase Taiwan's Haikun Narwhal submarine?
My personal gut feel is that the Filipinos will go toward Korea. Philippines has purchased the FA-50 fighters from Korea, and they purchased 12, and they have very positive experience with it, and they're buying 12 more. What's good about the Koreans is not only the submarine is very good, it's well made, it also has the kind of high quality things where, like Indian subs, unfortunately, couldn't match up to it. Plus, the follow-on support. Filipino had a good experience with follow-on support with FA-50 fighters. So I suspect that goodwill will lead them toward decision toward a Korean sub. That's my gut feel.
Okay. And very briefly, Professor Kuo, what does the second major missile sale, if it goes ahead, what does it say about Indian-Philippine ties? Or does it reflect a deeper sort of bilateral relationship between India and Philippines, a flourishing one?
Yes, of course, yeah.
India is the world's largest arms importer, but since 2020 border conflict with China, Delhi has pursued increased exports of its own defense industrial manufacturers. As of March 2024, India's defense exports have exceeded $2.4 billion, marking a nearly 150% increase from 2020. As India provides more arms to the region, what does that say about its influence? And also, what benefits does it bring to the countries that it supplies to?
Well, India has a very robust defense industry for many years, and they are able to produce helicopters, tanks, submarines on their own. So the fact that they are willing to export, especially to countries that's against China, it indicates that it itself is not intimidated by China. As you know, India and China has the border conflicts themselves. So they're trying to increase influence, but I don't think they have as good of a overall plan as far as how to utilize that influence. So right now, yes, missile sales to the Philippines, but there is another other things in Asia that India can push itself into. It's more successful in South Asia area and some other smaller countries in other continents, but Asia, I think it's a new start for India, and it's doing it not only for its economic benefit, but also I think for a lot of political reasons.
Yeah. So does it represent a challenge to China?
To
Do you
China,
see it that way?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And Professor Kuo, Indian reports say that the military has prioritized now not a third aircraft carrier. It will replace its older of the two existing ones, but it will not seek an increase in that capability. What is driving, and instead, it wants to invest in submarines. So what is driving that shift in priority?
First of all, India's position, especially as subs, is trapped by Russia. And India is trying to get away from technological dependency on Russia. So right now, Indian government is trying to purchase submarines from Germany, or to talk about technological cooperation with Germany and even with Japan. And second of all, Indian government aiming, as you just mentioned, from 2020 to 2030, they established this defense industrial corridor to boost up its defense supply chain, as the government say, and aiming to improve its own indigenous technology, especially with AI, with subs, and with missiles.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that reflect also an asymmetrical shift on India's part away from an aircraft carrier? And how does that reflect perhaps what China is doing, the threats that it poses?
I'm not sure it's asymmetric per se. I think India has determined its sphere of influence is around Indian Ocean. Aircraft carrier is a power projection, okay? 2 aircraft carriers to manage power projection in Indian Ocean is sufficient. It's what they believe. And submarine is a definite deterrence factor, as Professor Kuo said earlier, that it's so unpredictable and stuff. So they decided to go with that. It's not necessarily asymmetric per se, but it's a defense strategy concerning how far you want to project your power. And in India's case, they're not interested in projecting power into the Pacific or Atlantic. Indian Ocean is where they're at, and it's not that big, it's not that far.
Right, okay. Now, Chief of the Staff of the Philippine Armed Forces, Romeo Browner, also said Manila is keen for South Korea to join the Squad, an informal security grouping of the Philippines, Australia, Japan, and the United States established in 2024. He said of South Korea, "We believe they also have a stake in the security aspect of the region." Browner said he also supports a visiting forces agreement with South Korea, something that South Korea's ambassador to the Philippines confirmed Seoul was giving thought to in September 2024. Professor Kuo, so let's talk about South Korea. What does the addition of South Korea contribute to the Squad that it doesn't already have?
The situation been a little bit different as we are talking right now. Before 2025, it was President Yoon's administration. He was quite keen to improve or to increase security relations, not only with Japan or US, but also with the Philippines, sometimes even with Taiwan. But again, with this indictment of President Yoon, the domestic politics situation in South Korea becoming quite different. And I would say maybe this June or July, South Korea will have a presidential election. And from current situation, the Chairman Lee of Democratic Party in South Korea is gonna win the election. And he has very different political ideology.
Right.
And so I think after he run the government, Mr. Lee run the government, he will put a stronghold to stop cooperation with the Philippines. Right. So the delivery of 2 frigates from South Korea to the Philippines might be the end of the bilateral security cooperation. Although President Yoon already signed this strategic partnership agreement with the Filipino government, but again, Mr. Lee has very different foreign policy view with President Yuan. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Tony, do you see this as Brahma appealing to South Korea? These countries together, the Squad, have shared interests in this region for security.
Yes, absolutely. And I suspect Philippines will also request United States to use its leverage to maintain the Squad. And because Filipinos know the more alliances they can get into, as they have done in the last 2 years, with some kind of agreement, various kinds of agreement, even with UK and Canada, and certainly with Japan. And so it's hoping that it could get Korea also involved. Their relationship with Korea is actually fairly good, like I mentioned, the fighter purchase and things. So they're hoping to maintain that even through the next presidential election. And so absolutely, Philippines is hoping Korea would join and be concerned with its security.
Right, okay. Now, according to a report by the Navy News, satellite images in January reveal that China's Guangzhou shipyard is likely constructing a new unreported type of submarine. The vessel is approximately 45 meters long and 5 meters wide, with large X-form rudders and no sail. China remains the only country known to have built sailless submarines. Okay, so there's no sail, there's X-form rudders. What are these features for?
ASW, anti-submarine warfare, is actually quite critical for China to push this A280 strategic concept. So we think the picture, the distance from Ukrainian battles, we could see the importance of drones, especially attacking surface vessels. So two domains are becoming more and more important after the lesson from Ukrainian war. One is space, the other is underwater. So I believe that's a reason why with the technological breakthrough of AI, so you put it together, that's the reason why China is putting so much attention to underwater warfare.
Right. And Tony, why has this submarine been called unreported? There's kind of a secretive element to it. How does the West or other countries do it differently?
Well, this submarine is kind of strange because it is too large to be an unmanned submarine, and it's too small to be a manned submarine. And its feature indicates it's probably an unmanned submarine. And
it's probably an
unmanned submarine. Because if it's manned, it requires certain sustainment system, such as water processing, waste processing, mass lodging, and certainly you need some kind of things for you to be able to observe and stuff. And in the U.S., when you look at unmanned submarine, or actually around the world, unmanned submarines are used for surveillance, for decoy, and for intelligence collection, for removal of underwater mines and stuff. So they're not that big, okay? They're not used as shooters. Like this submarine appears to have torpedo tubes. Submarine, it's very hard to identify friend and foe underwater. So if you don't have positive control, positive rules of engagement, an unmanned submarine can shoot your own ships, your own submarines. So if you want to maintain such tight command and control, then you need some kind of linkage with the command and control unit. Then the submarine will expose its position. So you want to remain stealthy. Usually that's why a manned submarine, they have human in the middle. As they detect certain things, they can determine is this friend or foe.
Right.
Now, can an AI help it? Sure it can, but final decision to kill, I think you still need a man in the loop. So to have an unmanned submarine that big, carry torpedo, it makes the world wonder, what is China doing?
So you're saying that the size is in order to carry the torpedoes and more of them?
It looks like it, from the graphic picture, it looks like it has torpedo tubes in front. You know, like I said, if it's unmanned with torpedo, it's a dangerous weapon system to themselves, not only to others, but to themselves too. So does China have a doctrine, has a strategy, has a tactics developed for a weapon system like that? So I think that's why the rest of the world is wondering, thinking the same way. So what is it for?
Yeah, there's too many questions.
Too many questions.
About this. Let's move on to essentially the detection of these submarines. Professor Kuo, I'll stay on you. So China has developed a so-called Great Underwater Wall. Is meant to be based or modeled on the US's SOSUS, which is a sound surveillance system. I believe it's been renamed to IUSS, Integrated Undersea Surveillance System. And it's basically a surveillance system which is both underwater but also surface ships, there's cables, sensors, sonar, drones to monitor activities. How effective do we know this network to be? And how much progress do you think the US is making? In 2023, it announced that it would revive its network.
I believe it's realistically it's quite difficult because the system of the US is basically jointly cooperate with a lot of countries because you want to put all these sensors in right locations. Sometimes, or most of the time, it's locates in other countries easy, sometimes even territorial waters, when the location is very geostrategically important. And I do not see any, Beijing has that kind of political capacity, for example, to position sensors, Basi Channel, all these important waterways surrounding South China Sea. So I think it's pretty much still a concept, but realistically, especially when it comes to political reality, I do not think those countries will support China's plan. Yeah.
Tony, your assessment?
Well, almost the entire system of underwater surveillance is classified. So I don't want to get into it. However, it is a robust system. It is a system because you got the sensors. They detect some kind of information. If you don't have a database to analyze that information and say what just went by, it's nothing. Okay. So the U.S. has an entire system in place for many years, and you're correct. It just went through a major upgrade, and also new locations. It's a critical piece of our surveillance system. We want to know, especially when the Chinese ballistic missile submarine, things that carry nuclear missiles that can hit the United States, leave port and go through some choke points. We want to know, and we will have somebody there waiting for him and track him, because this is something that can threaten the homeland. You know, an attack submarine, it shoots other ships. It's okay. You know, the damage is limited. But these missile-equipped submarines are the ones that, you know, we will maintain tracking. And this is a system that we count on to help us.
And China wants the same thing, though, Tony. So
China already has it.
How far, do you think that the system?
See, once again, they might have a sensor. Do they have the data to support it? You know, and that's the question. How good are they in the data that they have? Do they have the data? You know, and obviously U.S. continuously update and listen. Whenever they have a new ship, new submarine come out, we have things that listen for it and make sure that become part of the library. And all the submarines and all the other anti-submarine system gets updated. Does China has such robust? I don't know. I haven't had access to classified stuff for over 10 years, so I don't know.
Right. Okay, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you so much, Tony Hu and Kuo Yu-jen, for joining Taiwan Talks today. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today. Stay safe and see you next time.
Game on! Taiwan's national team takes the field, ready to conquer the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. Meanwhile, CPBL spring training is in full swing, with teams gearing up for an electrifying season.
当然新目标就是希望自己的身体可以保持健康，这是非常重要的。
On the court, the stakes are higher than ever as basketball heads into its dramatic final stages.
抢投一个大号三分，林志杰接受。
Athletes across the island are prepared to give their all in 2025. This is the moment. Game on, Taiwan.
三分炮！
Taiwan Plus original series, Making Waves Beyond Taiwan. The Pursuit of a Cinematic Dream, Tsai Ming Liang, New York Festival's TV and Film Awards, Bronze Award. A documentary where Tsai reflects on his cinematic process and the future of his career. Road to Legacy, 57th Golden Bell Awards, Best Sound Design. A series that introduces 10 indie artists and bands and their road to musical stardom. More Film Festival approved Taiwan Plus originals. Bringing Taiwan to the world. Only on Taiwan Plus.
他也很想回去寻根啊。
We are honored to win Best News and Current Affairs Program at the 2024 Asian Academy Creative Awards.
Taiwan. Broken news. Stunning news production from Taiwan Plus.
Thank you.
Thanks to viewers like you, competing with some of Asia's finest productions, this win is a milestone for our young team at Taiwan Plus.